Chapter 1. Afghanistan, 2002. Good hell, Flatbread, who names a horse Johnny? I glanced over at Ditto and watched his green self bob up and down in my night vision as his own horse climbed the rocky trail. You ever been quiet for 5 minutes in your life just because? I said. Got a question for you. Johnny slowed, picked his way through a 10-foot patch of bigger stones about the size of bowling balls. Maybe if I ignored Ditto, he'd clap his trap. Ditto said, "What you think the public would think of us?" Most of them would cheer us on, but we'd end up villains anyway. How you figure? The media would make us out to be monsters and find a couple of dozen Americans who agreed with them and blast it 24/7. Assholes, he said. Somebody's got to do it. I nodded and gave Johnny a nudge to pick it up a bit. About 2 hours later, I checked my GPS. We were there. I reined Johnny to an easy stop. There was nothing to tie to in this hellhole of a place, so I looped the reins around his fetlocks as a makeshift hobble that would allow us a quick getaway if needed. Ditto did likewise with his mount, whose name changed daily, but I think on this day the mare's name was Wildfire. 'Cause that's one more awesome damn horse song, according to Ditto. We started our hike up the remaining distance, a couple 100 yards to go. It's slow going to check every footstep in advance to be sure you're not stepping on anything that can make a sound. But after a half hour, we could see the destination through our goggles, a black hole in the side of the mountain. I switched my view from infrared to thermal, scanned the mountain face above the cave opening, found what I was looking for. 100 feet up, a smaller hole, leaking enough heat to look like a bonfire through the goggles. Intel looks good, I whispered. No time like right now, Ditto said. Let's do this thing. We continued our quiet ascent, and in a few minutes we stood outside the cave, me just to the left edge of the 6-foot wide opening, Ditto on the right. It was high enough for us to stand. That helped. I used hand signals for us to move in, and we both took a step before Ditto held up a fist. I froze. He pointed to an electronic device on his chest, and we pulled back to our positions flanking the hole. The gadget was the latest and greatest BlackBerry. It could send and receive electronic mail anytime it had a signal. And thanks to an adapter that connected to our sat phones, that translated to pretty much any time and anywhere we had a look at the sky. Ditto's had obviously vibrated. He detached it and flipped up his goggles. I could see its screen glowing a dim green as he read the message. Then he was typing on it with his thumbs. As soon as he stopped, mine vibrated its tickle buzz across my Kevlar vest. I raised my headset and read the message. Shit. Airstrike in 7 min. Damn. I stowed the BlackBerry, dropped my goggles, and raised 5 fingers to Ditto. We set 5-minute timers on our watches and, on my signal, simultaneously started the countdown. No time left for the kind of stealth I preferred. I signaled one more time and we moved inside the cave as quietly as we could while still making haste. We worked our way through a few small chambers that twisted and turned, and then we could see light ahead in a larger space. At the edge of the opening to that space, we dropped to our bellies, flipped up our NV gear, made a quick scan. 9 assholes inside. The most important one, sitting in front of a laptop with a cable snaking up the roof of the cavern and disappearing into a vertical shaft, was on the leftmost wall. The cavern was lit by a couple propane lanterns on stands. I counted down 3 fingers to Ditto and it was on. The left side was mine. Our suppressed M4s made quick work of most of them while we had the element of surprise. No idiotic movie spraying on full auto, just quick and efficient double taps to the head. 7 of them could now have much more intimate conversations with Allah. 2 remain, my guy with the laptop, I did not want to kill him yet, and 1 guy on the right behind a large wooden shipping crate. We stood and entered. I was focused on computer guy, but my peripheral vision picked up things going very wrong on the right. Standing from behind the crate and screaming like an animal, Ditto's guy opened up with an AK-47. My partner wasn't fast enough. Ditto's head burst open in a sickening spray of gore. Son of a bitch. I pivoted right and returned the favor to the jihadi. There was no need to check on Ditto. When I turned back to computer guy, he was coming out of his state of shock, his hands over the keyboard. I popped a .223 round into each shoulder and he was no longer concerned with typing. While he wailed, I checked my watch. The firefight had felt like a half hour, but my countdown was just moving through 3 minutes 18 seconds. I was at the computer in 3 quick steps. I grabbed the guy by his nasty beard and yanked him away from the computer. I took his place on the rock he'd been using as an office chair. The laptop was asking for a password. In Pashto, I screamed, "What is the password?" to the waste of human flesh on the floor, still wailing and whining and slobbering. He looked at me and shook his head. I shot him in each knee and represented the question. 2 minutes 59 seconds. He was going into shock now, the blubbering giving way to a quiet mewling. He stared at me through wide, unfocused eyes. I had no time for this. My mission was simple. Recover the computer and its password by any means. Even if the crypto guys could break through the password at all, that took time. The name of this game was Get the Info Now. Whatever data the laptop held could be useless in 2 days, much less the 2 months it might take to crack. I handed him a small notebook and a pen and started screaming, "Write the password! Write the password!" He spit at me. 2 minutes 47 seconds. Using my tactical knife, I split his pants open at the crotch. No underwear, and the stench of the filthy bastard's genitals was hellish. I grabbed the head of his penis in my left hand, stretched it up, and put the knife at the base. This takes the defiance out of 99% of all men on the planet. 2 minutes 35 seconds. This 1%er spit at me again and started screaming about Allah. I drew the knife lightly across, enough to bring plenty of blood, but not enough to cut it off. The blood loss would be too quick for my needs. He continued to pontificate on Allah. 2 minutes 28 seconds. Time for the 100% solution. I reached around in my pack, dropped a zipper on its bottom right, and reached inside. From a rubberized compartment, I pulled a small, dead pig. I rammed my knife into its heart and pulled it out, now smeared with porcine blood. 2 minutes 7 seconds. Exaltation of his god ended, and he stared at the knife. I put it to his throat and said, "Write the password or I'll send you to hell right now. No paradise, no wine, no virgins." When he finished writing, I keyed in the password, and the laptop opened to a screen of email addresses and phone numbers. Damn Skippy. I turned back to the guy and slit his throat. After cutting the line that fed from the laptop up into the shaft, I pulled its battery and stowed the computer in my backpack, then left the way we had come, this time at a dead run. 1 minute 31 seconds. Just inside the cave entrance, I dropped a laser designator to light the way for the missiles, then hustled back down the trail as fast as I could go without stumbling and tripping on the endless rocks. A sprained ankle right now would be a mortal wound. 30 seconds. I reached the horses, unhobbled Ditto's mare first, pointed her downhill, slapped her ass. She bolted. With the mission complete, the sight of Ditto's head bursting like a melon started cycling through my mind. I unwound the reins from Johnny's fetlocks and leapt into the saddle, reined him around to head back down the mountain, then kick-started him with my heels. "Go, Johnny, go!" He launched. In my mind, poor Ditto's head exploded again. 10 seconds. The wind was an icy razor on my face. The countdown expired, and I knew I had 90 seconds max before the F-18s brought hell. Johnny was hauling ass, but we weren't far enough away from the cave for my comfort. It turned out to be closer to 30 seconds. I saw 4 little spits of fire in the sky ahead as the missiles dropped from their moorings on the F-18s, then ignited and streaked toward the laser designator, just as we reached the base of the mountain. The ground leveled out, and Johnny needed no encouragement. He was a magnificent creature with somewhere to go. We went. The explosions at our backs lit the valley before us as the world roared. I felt heat and pressure a few seconds later, but that's it. I applied the brakes and Johnny stopped. We turned around and watched the cave spit fire from its maw and a column of sparks from the vent hole above it. I patted Johnny on the neck, his taut hide drenched with sweat in the cold Afghan night and radiating the smell of proud horse. Then I leaned left and stretched way forward in the saddle so I could look him in the eye. "Buddy," I said, "I'll get you out of this miserable excuse of a country someday, and we'll never have to do this kind of shit again. I promise." Johnny snorted.